So why am I, as a woman, talking to you as men and women about what it means to have a band of brothers and why that's so important at this particular moment in time? Well, I'm going to talk about that, but first we're going to take a break. I have a new intro. I'm trying to get super clear on what we're doing here, so we're going to take a deep breath and we're going to see you on the other side.
How am I supposed to stop the end of the world?
My name is Jill, and I believe humanity is at a crossroads with destinations beyond our control. But I've chosen to get hardcore by going all in and training and preparing to be human again. I'm not looking for followers online, but partners who want to do the work. You want to move ideas into action with guts, grit, and grace. Is that you? Then you are in the right place.
Can save the world that we're losing.
So whether this is the first time you're watching me, whether it is in my time right now, March of 2019, or maybe some point years in the future, one of the things that I have seen consistently happen across the lines of time that I think is so important about this particular moment is, regardless of how you feel about war, something happens with men in a time of great crisis. And there's no greater crisis than a world at war. When men come together, when it's life and death, they form a bond and a connection that is incredible. If there's very few things I believe that can come out of war, but one of the most positive things that come out of it is this connection that men have with each other. And there's a couple things I want to talk about that in relationship to what's happening now, and what we're talking about here is the end of this world as we know it, or whatever version is coming down the pike. But the core of what I'm really here talking about these days is human training for survival, and which is very different than survival training for humans, but we'll go into that detail in another video. But today, this idea of band of brothers is so important, and the reason I'm talking about it to you here now on this channel is 80 to 90% of my viewers on this channel are men, and I've done all kinds of things to try to switch things up. I've actually finally gotten out of the RV category and into the science-ish category, but I'm not even sure if that's the right place for me, but at least we moved a little bit. But I love what happens between men when they are in a life and death situation. And what's really key about that and what's happening right now is we are in a life or death situation. I don't want to see us go to war in order to have to get that connection. But if we are truly facing some kind of economic collapse or extinction event or civil war or whatever, you know, scary thing, ice age is coming down the pike, there's nothing that will be more important than our ability to connect with each other. And that has really brought me to this point of understanding that we're having three conversations. I'm having three conversations. The first conversation is from human to human, because I think there are certain things that men and women, we have tremendous overlap. And then there's the two different conversations, the one with women and the one with men. And I've really come to the decision that I want to do two things. Online with you here and at 18 Crossroad, I want to have the human conversation. What do humans need to do to survive both as self and species? But in person, I want to have conversations with women. And I'm doing that over on my other channel. That link is below, you know, for the two women that are watching on this channel. But that also leaves the men having conversations with men, and I can't be part of that conversation. I can talk to you as a human, I can talk to you from the feminine perspective, but something magical happens when men get together, and I don't think there's a more critical moment in time than for men to do just that. But I don't believe we should stop there. I think the bigger issue is not to just have men group up and, you know, tighten in and do their thing, is we need to bond at all kinds of levels with that same kind of intensity, purpose, passion, and commitment, that thing that happens inside of you when you are faced with life and death. even if you don't know when that life and death moment is going to happen, because, newsflash, none of us are here forever. And everybody, with the exception of a very tiny, tiny few of maybe the autistic personality, everybody craves a deep, purposeful, and meaningful connection. And I believe it's just been really hard for us to find that. And I know we can't find that online. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that it's so important for us to find ways to connect. And online isn't how we do it, but it is a great place to start the conversation, and an even better place to learn skills and facilitate our training and preparation process, as we are starting to face something that's going to affect all humans. That is a conversation we can have together. And someday I hope to meet a man who wants to have the same kind of conversation, and maybe we can co-facilitate face-to-face retreats, groups, workshops, gatherings. I think that would be awesome. I'm not talking about the science of all of this, but how it impacts us as human beings. Because when push comes to shove, all the information in the world, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to promise you, having sat by the bedside of at least hundreds of people, nobody really talked about the data points, the facts, or even their belief systems. Most people talked about their relationships and their regrets. And the one that comes to my mind most quickly here, and I think most men, especially older men, can really understand, is he was 95 when I met him. He was in a nursing home. He was sitting in his diapers that were dirty more often than not. And this was a tall, proud, functional man. This was a man who had a workshop full of amazing gadgets and machines. This was a man who rode his motorcycle till he was 85. And here he was at the end of his life, completely out of control. And I was the first person that would talk to him about that and the fact that he just wanted to die. And the point of that is that none of us know how we're going to end up. But there were two things that were really powerful about our interaction. One is we were able to have a real conversation. It didn't have anything to do with male, female, masculine, feminine, or the end of the world. It was just a human connection about something that was real. And the second thing was the lesson for me, is that we don't have control over our outcomes, but we can choose to be involved in the processes of our life and where it's going to take us. And when he, as this man was, somebody who was extremely controlling about his environment, one of his life lessons at the end was to have no control over his environment. So I want to have real conversations with you here as a lead up to having meaningful conversations both at 18 Crossroad and in person. And the three things I believe as humans we need to really focus on are our own life, our own terminal diagnosis. Second, if the electricity goes out, life will be very different. And third is if we are truly facing an extinction event. I feel like if we train and prepare for the most extreme things that can happen to us, if we can move ourselves into a state of readiness, and more importantly, if we can learn to work together in a powerful and meaningful way, that's the best thing we can do in the face of wild instability and uncertainty. Nobody can tell you what the future holds. I can tell you you don't want to have that future be you sitting in diapers in a nursing home. I have watched way too many people have that experience to know that that is not on my list of things to do. So when I talk about human training, we can do better, but it all starts with us, not just who we are individually, but how we come together, whether that's as woman, woman, man, man, human, human, family, family, man, woman. We have so many powerful and meaningful connections that we are able to make. I think it's time to start those conversations about how we can start making them. And there's nothing that's a greater example to me than the power that a band of brothers coming together in the face of life and death as the epitome of what to strive for, how to have your back no matter what happens. I think there's nothing more amazing, important, and valuable than that. Maybe one or two other things, but it's really critical. And so that is just an idea to plan. It's not a solution to offer, because that's something each of us have to work out and find for ourselves. But we're starting the process over here. So with that, we're going to take a deep breath, and I will see you next time.